Namaskar, hello, and a very warm welcome to CIET NCRT's special live phone-in interactive program. Well, here we are with a special series on digital initiatives in education. And today we have NDEAR Vidya Samiksha Kendra. Let me tell you what NDEAR is all about. It's a national digital education architecture. Well, in detail, you'll get to know about it from our experts. If you have any questions, any queries regarding this, please reach out to us. You can simply give us a call on our number, which is 8800440559. And if there is any query and you want to reach it out to us through the email ID, then the email ID would be training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in. At this moment, you're watching us on Vidya channel number 6 to channel number 12 and also on our YouTube channel, which is NCERT Official. In the live chat box of this channel, you can write down your questions and share them with us till 5 o'clock. So we have a lot of time for this discussion and we have two experts with us. So let me please introduce to you my first guest, and he is Mr. Satyaraj Iyer. Sir, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
Sir is from Diksha PMU, that is Project Management Unit, CIET NCRT New Delhi, and my next guest is Mr. Sahil Kapoor. Sir, a very warm welcome to you too. Namaskar. Sir is from Diksha PMU Kent, CIET NCRT New Delhi, and they'll be more than happy to answer all your queries, all your doubts, and we would love to take your queries towards the end of the program. So please share anything you have in your mind regarding NDEAR Vidya Samiksha Kendra. And before we begin this discussion, I have an announcement to make, that is regarding India's G20 presidency. Well, we're extremely proud of the fact that India assumed G20 presidency and would convene the G20 Leaders Summit for the first time in the country this year, that is 2023. A nation deeply committed to democracy and multilateralism, India's G20 presidency would be a watershed moment in her history as it seeks to play an important role by finding global pragmatic solutions for the well-being of all, and in doing so manifest its true spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or should I say the world is one family. So let's begin this discussion, and before we get into the details of it, let's understand what Vidya Samiksha Kendra is all about. Let me please ask Mr. Iyer here. So would you like to define Vidya Samiksha Kendra for all our viewers, and how will it bring equality in the education system if that's the aim of Vidya Samiksha Kendra?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me here today. And coming to the first question, Vidya Samiksha Kendra is actually a national initiative launched by the Ministry of Education in the month of July 2022. The main objective of having a Vidya Samiksha Kendra in India was to essentially leverage, all the data that we are collecting from different programs and use it or, harness it to improve the educational outcomes at multiple levels. And since you asked about how we can improve, or bring equality in the education ecosystem, then I must say that, not just equality, but equitable education accessible for all students is also another agenda of the program. As you can see on my screen now, from the very beginning, I hope you can see my screen. Yeah, thanks. So from the very beginning, the focus has been on creating, equitable opportunity or equality among students. So therefore, there still remains disparity in terms of who gets what. But by focusing more on equity, we are able to provide basis on the need of a student or the stakeholder. So therefore, Vidya Samiksha Kendra will be a force multiplier to ensure that, students or, the end audience get what they need basis their current scenario. And ultimate objective obviously is to remove the wall, as you can see on the screen. The last goal is to remove a boundary or a wall. There should not be any barrier. So that is what we are hoping that Vidya Samiksha Kendra will go forward to do.
Okay, I really hope that day would come very soon. Sahil sir, would you like to add something?
So Mr. Iyer has explained it very well, that what Vidya Samiksha Kendra is trying to achieve. But in simple layman's language, अगर हम देखें, so हमने अपने बचपन में एक एग्जांपल जरूर सुना होगा, लाइक एक टीचर है, उसके पास 3 आम हैं एंड 5 बच्चे हैं, और वर्सेस 5 आम हैं एंड 3 बच्चे हैं, and we want to distribute that 3 mangoes among those 5 children, right? In similar fashion, if we look at Vidya Samiksha Kendra, that is the kind of a thing which Vidya Samiksha Kendra is trying to do, but not just for those 3 mangoes or 5 mangoes or 5 children, but among us approximately 25 crore learners in the country, supported by approximately 1 crore teachers in the nation. That how the data amongst teachers, learners in an aggregated form can be utilized, can be leveraged to design policies around it so that every last mile learner can achieve the benefits of it.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, if we understand it that way, you said that Vidya Samiksha Kendra leverage the data. So, how is this possible? How does VSK leverage the data analytics? Would you like to explain it a little further?
Sure. So basically what we are trying to do here is we are taking up the data from the various programs the Government of India is running for the benefits of the learners, whether it is teacher training, whether it is assessments at the school level, whether it is textbook distribution, any kind of a benefit being given to in the education ecosystem, and then trying to create insights out of it, that whether that data, what that data is saying, whether the benefit is reaching to the last mile or not. I would take an example from my slide that currently we are catering to these programs like Diksha, that what all learners are coming on the Diksha platform, what they are learning, what are the takeaways they are taking from the content being provided free of cost without any logins. Apart from that is the other programs like teacher attendance, teacher assessment, schools masters and semester data and so on. So basically we are utilizing only that much data which is required to create policies around it and make sure that the benefits reach to the last mile. Satya, would you like to add?
Sure, thanks. Since you mentioned about benefits, then I think I must mention that largely the focus is not just restricted to using data for improving only the learning outcomes, but also certain enabling factors that will essentially improve the governance part of the education system also. So as you can see on my screen, there are multiple scenarios or use cases where the data can be largely leveraged for improving the educational outcomes, right? So first of all, if you look at the current way that the schools are being managed, schools as a fundamental unit, there could be better monitoring performance system in place. VSK is one such solution, looks at improving or streamlining the entire monitoring process for school governance. Similarly, there are multiple scenarios where teachers bring in really good quality innovative practices in classrooms, but the problem is all of this remain in islands of excellences. So therefore, how do you mainstream or collate different best practices onto a single platform is another idea which VSK will help to answer. Training and support is one such area where largely everybody gets all kinds of training, right? So not every shoe fits everybody, right? We have to customize the training requirement also accordingly basis what the need is for a teacher. So VSK is created in a way which will look at do an as-is analysis of different users and also try to recommend what training can be given for such teachers in cohorts. So we are already doing multiple training sessions online via Nishtha. So through Nishtha we are able to look at different data in terms of how many teachers have actually enrolled for different courses and how many have completed and what are the level of skills that they have achieved. And probably going forward we will then also be able to look at what are some of the learnings that are emerging from this training, which is post facto. So most of it, the journey ends after a teacher completes a certification. But what happens, whether the teacher takes that knowledge into the classroom, whether that knowledge translates into an incremental improvement of student performance. So all of those things are currently not being measured. And I think VSK will largely answer or cater to some of these bigger issues and challenges.
Okay, if you're talking about the bigger issues and challenges here, we would like to ask you about the learning crisis and some of the barriers that children face for their education, and also how does Vidya Samiksha Kendra help address these issues?
That's a very important question and thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I think learning crisis is one of the biggest crises that we are as country, as the world we are facing, because unfortunately learning outcomes has not really kept pace with the way that infrastructure has grown exponentially, right? And given that pandemic has also hit very hard on our learning ecosystem, we have seen large number of students dropping out of this mainstream schooling. There are of course a lot of non-formal education mode which is introduced, digital learning being one such modus operandi, but still the digital divide continues to not really help much. Of course the accessibility has been improved, but the learning outcomes has not significantly improved, and I'm not just saying it because there are multiple reports done by third-party agencies, by global organizations, which have found that the learning outcomes has significantly dropped, mainly because of accessibility challenges. Even in terms of the quality material which are being provided to students do not reach on time, and the personal touch for a teacher which is given to any students also needs to be slightly more structured. So I think these are some conventional problems which have been coexisting for a long time, but I think VSK will largely look at certain areas which needs improvement and then answer to these questions.
Okay. So, if these bigger issues have been there for a long time and VSK is helping, so, Sahil sir, would you like to tell us that what are the multiple methods or strategies of VSK that help in the children that are facing these barriers?
So, think of it as some problem going on in silos.
Okay.
So, if school being considered as a unit of evaluation, and there are, let's say, 20 learners who are not able to achieve their learning outcomes, teacher will take remedial actions and ensure that the students are able to perform. But if the same problem continues to exist across 100 schools or a particular geography, then since that teacher and those learners are working in silos in a particular school geography, they will not be able to actually identify that this is not something which is happening in their school location only, but across the area, right? This is where the Vidya Samiksha Kendra will come into play and help us identify that what are the weak spots, weak areas, whether it is in terms of learning outcomes, whether it is in terms of assessment, whether it is in terms of teacher training, or versus what are the best practices being used at a particular area which can be utilized, replicated across the nation to achieve the ultimate outcome, that is ensuring learning reaches to the last mile.
Okay. All right. And if we talk about the performance of the children, and when we say Vidya Samiksha Kendra, it's not state bound, it's not district bound, it's for the entire country and for all the students who are studying, who are in the education field. So if VSK has to monitor the performance of teachers as well as students on such a bigger scale, is it easy? Is it difficult? And is it even possible? Is it happening, and how?
Sure. So I wouldn't say that it's easy.
Okay.
But again, I wouldn't say that it's impossible. It's since we are already have started doing it, we are doing it and at a national level, and also many of the states have started doing it at the state level, at their district level also. They have started measuring performance across teacher trainings, across student enrollments in the schools, and couple of other programs like PM Poshan. And we have been actually creating insights out of that aggregated data to, I would say, to design the policies, and also have plans of incorporating more programs around the teacher-learner journey across the school and the higher, so that we can definitely build out insights and create help in designing the policies.
Okay, I think that's a very good analogy in terms of how we can look at this question. One very specific use case I wanted to actually share, which is with respect to the assessment and remediation, right? So we use large scale assessment to understand how a system is performing. It need not necessarily reflect how an individual performance looks at, but largely conventionally we have been using large scale assessment surveys to look at how student performance change over a period of time. Now if you look at the screen, you will find that there are certain indicators, right? So these are nothing but the learning outcomes. For example, it could be prescribed by NCERT, right? for every grade, for every age, there is a appropriate learning outcome that the child has to attain. And on not attaining these basic learning outcomes, that means there is a problem somewhere, not necessarily with the child, it could also be problem within the way that the education is being delivered to the child. So we need to look at, so if you look at this dashboard, what does it indicate? It shows you, different districts that have been performing with respect to vis-a-vis the learning outcomes. So if you look at the darker green, you will find that those are some of the districts which have been doing really well, right? So if you look at the red areas or the orange areas are the ones which are not really doing very well. So as a policy decision maker, what does it tell me? As for at a state level or maybe at a district level, I may be then able to look at what are some of the initiatives or campaigns I can run to improve. So if you look at the first indicator which says solve simple daily life problem, right? Now that is a problem area for 2 districts, as you can see on the screen. Now the district can now start to create certain activities inside the classroom or outside the school where student can gather around, work more on these daily life problems, and therefore see if there is any significant momentum with respect to improvement of these learning outcomes. So I think this is a very interesting way that data can be utilized for improving the learning outcomes at school level.
I think that's a great thing that we have the data and we're using it to improve all the learning outcomes. If you talk about the best practices in education, you listed that we have Diksha and you named multiple. So how can VSK identify that these are the best practices and these are not so best?
Sure. So, conventionally we have seen that every classroom you will find a child who is full of curiosity, right? The children are actually born curious, and you will also find in schools that there are many teachers who come up with very innovative ways to teach. I still remember my math teacher who used to teach integration and trigonometry in a very interesting way that I can't even forget, right? So it all depends on how innovative practices are being used, but the major challenge is how do we bring to scale or to mainstream such good ideas. Now very recently an initiative called Vidya Amrit Mahotsav has been launched, and the data of Vidya Amrit Mahotsav or micro improvements is also available on VSK. Now as a campaign we are now able to look at different innovative pedagogies or ideas or solutions which are contributed by teachers onto the platform, and we are also able to disseminate such ideas to different teachers. So at some point, once this campaign is over, the ideas which are going through multiple process of evaluation will then be available to open public to look at and study, and eventually those can be implemented by teachers in their classroom. So this is one way that VSK is helping to scale innovative ideas by teachers.
Okay. Sir, would you like to add?
I think we are good.
Yes, said it all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, said it all.
Okay. So if we talk about the training part here, Vidya Samiksha Kendra provides training and just the way Nishtha does. Right. So when Vidya Samiksha Kendra provide training and support to teachers and schools, how do they go about it?
So I would say even not just for the training program, for any kind of a program. So there is a binary question whether that program has been adopted or not.
Okay.
Right. When the answer is there, okay, few states have adopted, few states have not adopted, then there are 2 parallel channels. For those which have adopted the program, that okay, what is the progress being made across that? And those who have not adopted, are they facing any technical challenges or any factual challenges or any kind of challenges because of which they are not able to uptake that program, right? Then that is where the Vidya Samiksha Kendra helps in bringing out the data to daylight and actually taking actions on that data, and supporting the NCERT team is reaching out to states to support them, those states which are doing great, which are not able to start the programs, and which are doing at par.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the help of the website, would you show it to the viewers to know
Sure,
for their
thanks.
better understanding?
Definitely. We have been talking a lot about VSK.
Yeah.
We fondly call VSK for Vidya Samiksha Kendra. So on my screen now you can see a small snippet of the entire analytics dashboard that we have developed from NCERT. This dashboard actually gives you an overview of different multiple programs that are currently being run from the center. So there are 10 centrally sponsored schemes which is being offered to all the states. States leverage these schemes. So if I talk about Nishtha, because my dear friend Sahil just talked about Nishtha, so I will directly take you to Nishtha and show you how we look at the data from a policymaker's point of view. So if you look at it, we have got about 33 states that have been adopting Nishtha over a period of time. We have got about 9.07 crore. Imagine the scale of the uptake of the Nishtha program itself. This is the online training of teachers, and almost 7.8 crore teachers have already completed their certification, right? Sorry, have completed the course, and approximately 7.5 crore teachers have got their certification also ready. I think it is one of the classical use case, not just in India but in the whole world, where you are able to see almost 90-95% completion of online certification. It's a well-known fact that any course, especially given that MOOC has hardly about 15 to 20% of completion. So I think it's a classical use case, a global use case which we as Indians have achieved. And looking at the data point of view, this is how we see different states participating or adopting Nishtha. So on my map, you will see that these are the states who have onboarded Nishtha, right? Then we can also look at some of the stats with respect to the courses which have been launched. Now, every statistic, every course which is launched need not be adopted by the state. Now they may want to modify it, they may want to bring certain local context to it, or probably put it in their own regional languages. So therefore different mediums coming across. So we are able to look at how many states have onboarded number of courses across mediums, and also we are also able to look at the potential base of teachers which is there in each state, and how many teachers have actually enrolled for a course and how many have completed their certification. So this way then we are able to hold fruitful conversation with the right stakeholders to drive the adoption as well as the improvement of the teacher performance at various level. Similarly, if I can give you a drill down, this is how we look at the data. For every state we get district wise drill down also. We look at how the course wise performance has also happened. For us at NCERT, this is also a feedback. If certain courses are not being not getting any traction, then probably we might want to go back and look at the course whether it needs any kind of improvmental or incremental changes. Yeah.
Okay. If we're talking about this particular course, would you like to tell us who all can do this course, as in who can be the participant?
Sure. So Nishtha was essentially introduced for all the school heads initially,
okay,
and then later teachers can also enroll and get them self-certified. There are different components within Nishtha. So if I talk about the ECCE component, which is primarily aimed at for teachers catering or teaching students at the very basic or initial level. Then we also have Nishtha at secondary level, and we also have Nishtha which is primarily for Nipun, right? And now we are also going to introduce the adult learning vertical on Nishtha itself. So these are some of the initiatives which are available for people to enroll and do their courses.
Okay, great. So I think now it's a little bit more clear to all the viewers that what are these practices that are going on with Vidya Samiksha Kendra. Okay. Now if we talk about each student here, not every student is born brilliant, and every student has their own capabilities and skills. So now to nurture each and every student's skills and personalize them. So how can VSK personalize the learning of each and every student and help enhance their learning outcomes?
Sure.
Sure.
Sahil, you want to take?
Yeah. So, see, you might have heard the statement, data is the new oil.
Yeah.
Right? So, it's been now there for a couple of, I would say, year now. Right? Think of it, you have the aggregated data. I would again repeat the word aggregated and not the personal. Yeah. So, you have the data, and you know that, okay, there is a learner who has been doing good or who has not been doing very well in a particular learning outcome. Then the system can automatically align that learner with the various kind of learning materials which can help learner achieve those learning outcomes. Based on the level of maturity of each individual, there can be scenarios where a learner can easily grab learning material while others may take more effort, more time to grab that material, right? Or may need to take a deep dive on a particular topic, right? So in that cases, the system, the data allows us to push that kind of a learning material to each individual and help them achieve their learning outcomes. Satya, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I think we are indeed actually living, in the golden era, or to say, the Amrit Kal. The reason I say that is because we are able to now leverage technology to huge extent. Right from tracking our food delivery all the way up to tracking where my child is actually studying over a period of time. We have come really long way. And in terms of personalized adaptive learning, we have got so many different technologies and solutions available. But the most important part which I want to highlight today for this particular topic is that India has now created what is called as the National Digital Education Architecture. This is a blueprint, and this blueprint defines various building blocks for ensuring that the technology is not just restricted to a certain segment, but this is openly available for people. So, a student from the remotest part of the country should be also having equal stake on accessing that solution compared to somebody sitting in a smart city. Second, the technology which is used is open source, meaning there is no ownership or there is no proprietorship on the software itself, which also means that there are other partners that can come on board and they can continue to build. So imagine if I build a building for myself or my home to stay, and tomorrow, if Sahil feels that my home can be better constructed, so he can come and he can start building on top of what I have already built. And tomorrow a third person might feel that there are certain ways that the gate can be improved, so he can come and improve. So because now this is distributed, so therefore the ownership lies with everybody. I'm sure that you would have heard of blockchain concept, right? There is no ownership, or it's a federated structure. The same federated structure is being followed within NDEAR also. And when we say about personalized adaptive learning, we are also trying to build certain features inside Diksha, which will help learners to track of their own learnings. And then there'll be, now we are talking about many new chatbots and AI, ML kind of techniques that will largely help students to get recommended courses based on their learning pathways or behaviors. So this is largely what we are trying to leverage. And VSK data will help us to shift our focus from a more tailor-made or more personalized learning journey for students.
Okay, you mentioned chatbot here. So there's this new term we all are hearing these days, which is ChatGPT, and it is a buzzword. There's no doubt in that. So is there any way that is there any way planned to leverage it on Vidya Samiksha Kendra?
Yeah, maybe Sahil, you want to take it.
So, see, not only ChatGPT, why not? First of all, in fact, the basic behind it is the AI, artificial intelligence, and we have seen that wherever we are using AI, that's definitely helping us to get the task done in a faster and a more efficient way. So definitely there are plans to use, but again, for every new invention there are pros and cons to be evaluated, and we should make sure that we are giving the right tool to a learner, and after evaluating its pros and cons, and we'll go forward with it. Yeah.
So ChatGPT and AI being new technologies, would you say that it is too early to say what are the pros and what are the cons, or have we decided yet?
I think ChatGPT is basically conversational AI, and it is very fascinating to see the way that it has been growing, right? I saw a very recent stats which said the adoption of certain technologies. They said, when mobile phone was first launched, it took them almost 20 years to reach 10 million scale. When Facebook was launched, it took them 4 years to reach a 10 million scale. But when ChatGPT was launched, it took only a 1 week period for them to reach a 10 million scale. So you can imagine the scale at which we are operating at, right? And since that all of this data has been largely crowdsourced or pooled, so the algorithm engine works in a way which studies what we feed in, right? Ultimately, what is ChatGPT learning from? It is all learning and reading from what data we have been putting out in the open web. So therefore, what we put on the web is also important, right? Now, when we talk about ChatGPT for education, it is very important that it is customized to our audience. Right now today, there are certain boundaries within which ChatGPT will operate. If it will not cross that boundary. For example, it will not tell you anything about the stock market. It will not tell you anything about the current events. It will not tell you anything about religion or any hateful speech or comment. So there needs to be certain boundaries which needs to be drawn within education ecosystem, which will the reason for that is that we keep our students safe. Right, there is also issues about phishing, there is also issue about data privacy, digital identity. So all these things need to be kept on one side, and then leverage personal tutoring system for our students through ChatGPT. I mean, there are a lot of things that can eventually, it can be a very good topic for our next session also. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, we'll be looking forward to the next program. And when you said that the data is on the web, so the people who are using these platforms, how do they secure their data? How are they so assured that their data is not going into the wrong hands and no phishing is going to happen to them? So how is VSK protecting their data?
Sure. So I think one important thing that while all of this is being constructed, we are working with, not just TBs, but several petabytes of data. That's very, very huge, right? And in all of these digital chaos, it's important to ensure that an individual's identity is also kept secure. So what are we doing? We are doing two things. First, on the VSK, that's at the national level, we are not collecting any individual data. No personalized data is being collected. All of the data emanated on the VSK is aggregated data. Meaning, if I look at any data, I will not be able to pinpoint and say, X and Y or X person or Y person is actually the reason why certain things are not doing well, or I cannot pinpoint. But I'll be able to look at the cause and effect relationship on VSK. Second, at state levels, what many of the states are doing, because education is a very federated structure, it is also on the concurrence list. So therefore, not just center but states also have equitable way of arranging how they want to make sure that the education services are delivered. So therefore, the way that the states or UTs that we are working with are currently managing is that they have certain protocols at state level itself. Okay. For example, they may not want to host the data on an outside server. They have what is called as the SDC or the State Data Center, where all of this data has been securely stored. There are also third-party cloud service providers who ensure that there are certain norms which are followed with respect to safeguarding the privacy of students and teachers. Okay. So I think we also have many policies in place. We have India policy, India 2.0 policy, we have DEPA policy. So looking at all of these policies, I'm sure that we are in a better position. But yet, let us not be over-convinced. We have to also keep our checks and balances, regularly audit the data that we have captured and make sure that no personal identity is being misused, especially for students and teachers in our system.
Okay, and if in case it happens, would you be getting any notification that some data has been compromised? The VSK will get to know?
Yeah, sure. So what we generally do is we have regular audits of our system, and these are the audits which tell us if there are any breaches or potential breach that can happen, right? So this vulnerability study helps us identify possible or potential loopholes within the system, and it is important and critical for a stakeholder to continuously evaluate the system. My friend Sahil is an expert on this. I'll invite him to comment here.
So just as Satya Raj mentioned that VSK is actually not collecting any personalized data. Yeah. So looking at data, I'll not be able to pinpoint that this is Sahil's data or this is Satya Raj's data. So that one thing is for sure. Second, as he rightly mentioned, we had been continuously improvising our system. We had been continuously doing the security audit, which helps us to find out the vulnerabilities and close those vulnerabilities to make sure that no data leakage or any such event happens. And also, I would just like to add that as an individual also, whenever we install any kind of our mobile applications or any, we sign up on any websites, we always see that there is a user service agreement kind of a thing which we just ignore and just click I accept. So it's always good to go through that, and if ever in doubt, it's always good to ask someone elder who can guide on is it a right thing to accept or not. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a very valid point, and the viewers they are going to maybe give it a read once before accepting it from next time. So you said that you are working with states and UTs, and it's a collaborative work. And when you are working with all the states and UTs, can we say that all the states and UTs are this much technology driven, and they are advanced enough, and they are prepared, and they are implementing VSK the way it is supposed to be?
Sure, ma'am. Tanu ma'am, actually, with respect to implementation of VSK at state, we all know that not all states are at par, right? Every state has its own digital infra, and the scale at which they stand depends on differs continuously. So therefore, to ensure that there is a level playing field for all the states and UTs, what NCERT has done with MOE is has prepared a set of guidelines, a set of minimum specs, so that states can look at and then eventually adopt VSKs at their level. So if I can actually give you a brief snippet of what this VSK means at state level, then you will be able to look at my screen and see the three layers. One is the software, which essentially is open source tool which is provided by NCERT to all these states and UTs. They can be customized, they can be tweaked, they can be integrated with current systems. Second is actually hardware, which means that states will need to spend a very minimum amount, not really big, not fancy halls or infrastructure to set up a VSK. VSK can run on the cloud also, it can run on your phone also, but depending on the state budget, they can also set up a small physical location inside, at state secretariat or at district level or maybe even at school level. So that's how it has been conceived. Third layer, which is actually support team, or what we call as a task force, is actually the mind behind ensuring that VSK is running as planned. So a lot of coordination needs to happen at field level, with policy level, stakeholders, with administrators. So these are the team members who will essentially coordinate those activities and ensure that the end objectives are met.
Okay, so here I have a question for Sahil sir.
Sure.
So how does Vidya Samiksha Kendra help improve the decision making and help optimize the resource allocation in education delivery services?
Sure. So I would say, like, I gave an example of mangoes and students.
Yeah.
Now think about that teacher distributing 5 mangoes among 5 learners or students. All of a sudden, teacher comes to know, okay, the number of students was not 5, it was 10, right? So when teacher will start finding out ways that how to distribute those 5 mangoes among 10 students, right? Cutting it into half. The moment I get to know that it's not 10 learners but it's 20, I'll have to figure out some other way, right? Similar way, if we talk of the scale of the nation of a country like India, where we have so much learners and teachers, then Government of India also has to take decisions based on data, that where is it that I need to pass on resources, where is it I need to fund more, where are the areas where the states are doing good, where are the areas where they are lacking behind and needs improvement and requires the support, right? In that fashion, the data in the VSK helps government take that decision and provide appropriate resources to the various geographies.
Okay. So I can see that you have a presentation prepared. Is there any slide you would like to explain to our viewers?
Actually, I have slides, but probably I'll bring that up as we move forward with the questions.
Okay, okay. So I would like to ask you the plan which is there for VSK. So what's the way forward? Any strategies that has been done so far?
Sure. Thank you, Tanvi ma'am. So actually, off late we have been working, as I said, with multiple states and UTs. And I'm happy to share that many of the states and UTs have actually adopted the Starter Pack. So Starter Pack, as I mentioned, is a software solution which is offered by NCERT to all these states, which is free, which is open source, and states can actually leverage it to integrate with their current solutions. So the very first VSK which was set up by NCERT, which is based out of CIT itself, is on your screen. And you can see that, the way that it has been set up, you have got a large wall mounted screen where we see all the data analytics or visualizations. Of course, we have got a team which is sitting there with the infrastructure available. So this is how we have set up. You can also see Sahil sitting there, and our entire team is actually working on different components of Vidya Samiksha Kendra. So there are problem statements we are looking at one day. The second day we are looking at how do we solve certain problem statements for states. We are meeting certain stakeholders from states who come and share different viewpoints in terms of what are some of the challenges, why they are not able to meet them. So these are how we have been coordinating with different stakeholders at state level also. On my right side of the screen, you will also see the 10 centrally sponsored schemes which are now up and running on Vidya Samiksha Kendra, and ranging from the QR textbooks. I'm sure that you must have heard Diksha app. So all the data that comes on Diksha app is also available on VSK, but this is more on the granular level, on the usage data, in terms of how many states have adopted. So more on systemic point of view, we are able to look at the data. So obviously there are multiple data sets we look at, and we try to bring that into a single unified platform.
Okay, we can see these 10 programs. Would you like to briefly explain these to our viewers, in a line or two, maybe?
Sure. So Diksha Energized ETB stands for Energized Textbooks. So Diksha ETB essentially is the data we get from number of scans that students do on their textbooks, number of visits that happen on the portal, and number of sessions that students do, and time that students spend on content. So we get an aggregated result. Nishtha, as I mentioned earlier, is an online teacher training platform. So all the usage data we get on Nishtha. Micro Improvement is more of teacher-led innovative practices which are captured on the platform. So from all the states we get the data on this. PM Portion is a midday meal centrally sponsored schemes for all the states. So we look at all these states that have given hot food to all the students on a daily basis. We look at that data. National Achievement Survey by NCERT is more of a holistic assessment of all the students for grade 3, 5, 8 and 10. And we look at all the learning outcomes achieved across the different subjects. This happens on a cyclical period, so we get the data around that also. UDICE Plus is an infrastructure related, teacher related, school related data set we have. It's a data repository for almost the entire school management with the Ministry of Education, that again districts and schools and states deposit on this repository. PGI is Performance Grading Index. There are at least 5 domains we look at, and each of these domain has certain contributory factor towards improving the overall performance of states. So ranging from learning outcomes all the way up to governance. There are certain rankings which happen every year, and states accordingly improve their policies and data governance mechanisms to ensure that they are up and running. Nipun Bharat is again a scheme which was launched 2 years back for improving the reading proficiency and numeracy skills among young learners. We get data of the Anganwadi Karyakartas and teachers about their course which they have completed. NCERT quiz is again an initiative by NCERT, and NCF data, there are multiple bodies which are created at district level. So number of frameworks they have built, number of paper positions they have submitted. So all of this data we look at from the VSK point of view.
Okay. On the slide itself, we can see that use case 1. So is there any case 2 also that we need to look at?
Yes, thank you. That's a very smart find. I wanted to actually show also use case 2 for Gujarat. Gujarat has also done exceptionally wonderful work with respect to setup of Vidya Samiksha Kendra. In fact, Gujarat was the first state to come up with VSK. And looking at the way that they have built VSK, many states have also taken learnings. So if you look at the picture, you will find that there are multiple desks and there are people sitting. So what they have also done is they have set up a call center arrangement, right? This is something very useful, especially given that in a state like Gujarat, where you have got multiple or diverse learning scenarios. Now each representative there can now call up certain schools and find out if all the process which are set are up and running or not. And also, since they have assessment systems running around quarterly, they can also follow up with schools why certain learning outcomes are not doing better or doing better, right? So this is a follow-up mechanism which Gujarat has also developed. And in addition to that, you can look at all the programs what they have currently put up on their dashboards. So this is a great learning for rest of the country also, in terms of how data can be leveraged. If you look down, I've also mentioned that they have got about 500 crore data sets, and these are largely attendance data of teachers and students They have been managing all of this data on their private servers, and they also did a study where they found that when they were able to track the attendance and the assessment performance also, they were able to improve certain aspects of the student performance. Right, almost 26% jump they got when they used data for leveraging the monitoring performance.
26% is a huge number.
Yes,
huge
and
number.
So can we say that Gujarat, the model of Gujarat, can be an inspiration to other states and UTs?
Definitely, Gujarat has set a pioneering or stepping stone for all these states, and now I'm also very happy to share that there are many states who are not just replicating Gujarat model, but they're also coming up with their own models. So Maharashtra is trying to come up with a very interesting model. It will be launched very soon. Meghalaya is also coming with a very interesting model, which is a flexible or blended model. So multiple states in India are coming up with their models. I will not disclose much about what they are doing because it is not currently launched. So I will leave it to the states. But I must tell you that many of the states are trying to harness the power of AI and ML also to not just get fancy dashboards or see only pie charts and bar graphs, but also make certain correlations, certain analogies, which will prompt the decision makers to take direct action on the data which is available.
Okay, so maybe we can arrange another program so that we can discuss the models arranged by the respective states. So before leaving, do you have any message for our viewers regarding the digital initiatives in education that are taken by Vidya Samiksha Kendra? Sahil sir.
Sure. So first of all, I would like to congratulate the NCERT team here also, because NCERT has been offering the Vidya Samiksha Kendra starter package to all the states. That means the open source software is up and running on day one only, and states can customize as per their requirements whatever programs they want to add or the graphical representation they want to change. Apart from that, the VSK at NCERT supporting Ministry of Education is available openly for all to access. That is ndear.vsk.gov.in. That is the URL where one can go and actually access all those 10 programs which Satya had been mentioning about. And think of it as an highway under NDEAR, National Digital Education Architecture, driven by a set of policy, that is National Education Policy 2020. And ecosystem players are always welcome to plug and play more features on top of it, and states are also welcome to build more and contribute back to the NDEAR.
Okay, anything from your side, sir?
No, I think we have largely covered, but one thing which I wanted to just share is that we are working in a community model. So education is not just restricted to only ministries ask, but of late we have also been trying to partner with multiple layers of NGOs, philanthropic organizations, non-profit firms, and we have also set up a sandbox where multiple organizations can come, they can do an experiment or demonstration internally and take that solution to scale. Right, so I think we have got about 250 plus organizations which recently signed up on the NDEAR sandbox, and I think more than 10 partners have also been able to demonstrate the solution successfully. So this is a great learning for us, because education is not just restricted for the ministry or the policy makers or administrators alone. It is also equal responsibility of the society to come and join hands. So definitely a welcome move, and we look forward to have more collaboration, more partnerships with firms, with individuals, with more passionate teachers. And ultimately the objective of all that we do is to make sure that the student sitting in the classroom is able to enhance and improve his or her learning outcomes. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we really hope that the initiatives taken by Vidya Samiksha Kendra, they'll show they'll be very successful and they'll show great results very, very soon. So thank you so much, both of you, for being with us today.
Thank you.
It was wonderful having a conversation with you, and not just me, I think all our viewers, be it a teacher or a student, we have learned a lot regarding Vidya Samiksha Kendra and some of the things we didn't even know before. So thank you for enlightening us.
Thank you, Tanvi ma'am, and I must thank you for exceptionally managing and moderating today's session, and thanks to the team also, which has been sitting behind the screen but very seamlessly coordinating to ensure this presentation. Thank you.
On behalf of the entire team of CIAT, and I would like to thank all our viewers for being a part of this program. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and if in case you have missed it, please watch it again on NCRT Official. That is our YouTube channel. It's going to be uploaded over there and it's going to stay there. So all you need is an internet connection. You can watch it anytime, anywhere you want. So for now, we're wrapping it up, and the upcoming program is another special program of ours, that is Sayog, Guidance for Mental Well-being of the Children, and the topic of discussion would be dealing with societal pressure during competitive exams. Please be here and keep your questions ready. Before leaving, let me tell you once again that we're extremely proud of the fact that India assumed G20 presidency and would convene the G20 Leaders Summit for the first time in the country this year, that is 2023. A nation deeply committed to democracy and multilateralism, India's G20 presidency would be a watershed moment in her history as it seeks to play an important role by finding global, pragmatic solutions for the well-being of all. And in doing so, manifest its true spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or should I say, the world is one family. With that, I am Tanvi Khurana and I'll take a leave of you. Please take care and keep on watching eVidya channels. Namaskar.